Hey everybody, I'm back with the last comic book review to end the year with. Uh, I have to obviously do something holiday themed for this month for a comic book review, and I really wanted to talk about this one: Batman, Santa Claus, Silent Night. It came out, pretty sure a year ago, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, hmm, pretty sure. One second. Sorry about this. Yeah, it was a year ago. And it's written by Jeff Parker and art is done by Michelle Bandini. Now, before I continue, please do me a huge favor and please like this video, leave a comments below, follow me on my YouTube channel, and if you want to further support the channel, please check out my Patreon. The links are in the description below. And yeah, man, it's perfect timing because I just did a reaction to James Gunn's Superman trailer that just came out earlier today. I just not too long ago got back from the movie theater to go see Sonic 3, which if I don't do a review Friday, I'll have to do one Monday evening. Oh, not Monday, Sunday evening. Because Saturday, normally I'll have some content to do, but I'm going out for some holiday festivities, so I won't be streaming that day. But the review of that will come. But anyway, so this is a 4-issue story, which is nice, compact, sweet to the point story. Where the Justice League meet Santa Claus. And it's not, hacky, type of Saturday morning cartoon kind of, thing. There's a legit mystery going on that Santa Claus and a few members of the Justice League have to solve. So, a couple of days before Christmas, some carolers gets attacked by seemingly some vampiric creatures. Batman and Damian Wayne show up at the scene of the crime and investigate and notice there were puncture wounds on the necks. Now, Batman, of course, doesn't believe this is like a traditional type of vampiric attack because it doesn't line up, but he's not 100% sure. So he calls in Zatanna to come in as a liaison of sorts. And they immediately start getting attacked by a few straggler vampire creatures. But it's more like, more supernatural type of man-bats type of thing. But they end up getting rescued by Santa Claus, wielding a massive crossbow and riding the most awesome-looking reindeer, which is Prancer in this case, I ever seen. And it kind of reminds me of the comic book that I reviewed some other Christmases ago called Claus, which I highly recommend you check out my review on the Claus comics, but definitely read them because they're really good. And everybody, I love this moment. Every time like somebody meets up with Santa Claus, he just knows their name and he recites their address. I was like, I love that touch because Santa Claus has that kind of power. Why wouldn't he has this kind of power? He just sees somebody's face, he instantly knows a lot about them. Of course, while Damien is kind of like, wait a minute, you're real? And Zatanna's in awe. But Batman, of course, he's unfazed because apparently he's met Santa Claus before while, in his younger years as he's going through his pilgrimage, trying to train in the skill sets that he has. But the way he gets around so stealthily, you thought it was just ninjutsu type of thing. No, he learns that from Santa himself. How to seemingly get around and pop up out of nowhere kind of thing. It's kind of dope. He's apparently, Santa Claus is pretty much after these mythical creatures that supposed to be in prison, and he's trying to stop them because he doesn't know how they got out. He should have been like one of the few people who know the whereabouts of the prison they should have still been in. So now he's, on a quest to recapture them or stop them. But then Nightwing, Batgirl, and I think there's another person that I'm misremembering that's trying to help some police and bystanders from getting attacked by these vampiric creatures. So they all convene to help them out, which Dick and Barbara are totally shocked, like, oh my God. Everybody's like, because Dick Grayson is only kind of surprised because he mentions that, Bruce told me stories about it. I thought he was, full of, bull. But this is legit real. Now they're confused, like, okay, who is causing this? But one of the corpse of this creature sprouts some kind of flower and it sprays this green gunk in Zatanna's face, which is kind of poisonous. They come to find out that the culprit that's releasing these creatures was the Santa Claus's nemesis, Krampus. He's pretty much trying to incapacitate their mage in their party. So right now, Zatanna's kind of incapacitated for most of the book until the tail end. She ultimately will be all right, but Santa takes her to his home because he has medicinal stuff that will help her with the healing process. While he gives this kind of looks like one of those what do you call those, with like those little small boxes that if you open up, it has like a ballerina and it dances and plays music. The case looked like one of those things, but they wait until they arrive in a nearby Bat Cave where the Bat family is opening it up, and it regales the team on Santa's past, where it dives, that part dives further into the nitty gritty, but Zatanna, before she got sprayed with the thing, kind of jumping ahead, she Upon seeing Santa in action, she gets a better sense on which book she pulls from her magical library, because there's plenty of stories about the supposed origins of the Santa Claus. Of course, she goes through the list of many names he has gone by, like Saint Nicholas or Winter Claus, or just Klaus. But the closest of origins she think is probably the most accurate comes from like a Norse, from the Norse stories, where Santa, a lot of these creatures and the Krampus come from uh, Asgardian lore, where these creatures, escape, because Krampus apparently is from Svartalheim, but a lot of these creatures came to Midgard, kind of ran rampant, but as guardians, and I guess you can qualify Saint Nick as an Asgardian of sorts, comes to round up or just completely terminate these creatures before they do harm to the innocents on Midgard. So Klaus figures like, okay, Krampus was the last one, and he figures it's probably be the easiest one because Krampus, unbeknownst to many people, isn't, evil in a sense. He is just like a mischievous creature where he enjoys just scaring people, but or it's more specifically kids, but he's not malicious beyond that. As he's getting Krampus and making his way back to the Bifrost, it somehow got destroyed. It's unknown whether it was Ragnarok happening or some other outside force, but Krampus and Nick get stuck in Midgard, so they have to make do. And since Krampus is, scaring children, he takes it upon himself to kind of make up for that by making these children toys, because he is by trade in Asgard a craftsman. So this is where Zatanna gets like doused with this green goop. Like I said, she ultimately is alright, but Santa had to take her back to his workshop in order to get medicinal help. So now the Bat Family and the Justice League has to deal with Krampus and figure out how he's out and about. Why is he doing this? Of course, Santa, he believes it is impossible because he should have been trapped. Somehow he's out. But then, like I said earlier, you get a more deep dive into Santa's story while he spent his life on Midgard. They're witnessing these two boys bothering this little girl, trying to take away this her family's pig. They're watching this and they see that Krampus, snatches the boys up, terrifying them. And of course, doing the we see the typical methodology of Krampus with the with the switches made of branches, and then got the sack you get stuff bad kids into, things of that sort. So Santa makes a deal with the kids, like, I will convince them to turn you loose, but you gonna have to in return make good on of doing right by this girl and her family and the kids. Like, I promise I'll work for them. I won't do this again. And it's like, okay, but keep in mind, like, I see you when you're sleeping. I know when you're awake. And so this kind of put things in perspective for the bad family when they see, like, oh, Santa and Krampus has like this good cop bad cop thing going on. This just to put some kind of order in this kind of chaos, which is kind of something that they kind of do themselves. Uh, uh, well, I was about to say, crap. Uh, but Santa remarks how when he's showed up to the Bat family, he remarks how like he was kind of overlooking or overestimating or underestimating Krampus's nature, where he needs to terrify kids, and he's kind of been kind of shoving that into a box without letting Krampus do what he needs to do to kind of, because he has a need for that, which is somewhat understandable because like it's kind of like his biology in a way. It's like like it's kind of like where men had to need to test each other's might, like wrestle and just doing certain things that guys tend to do is just part of what makes us guys. Is kind of sort of with Krampus, if you look at it that way, where it's like he has to terrify people. That's how he it's part of his nature. Not necessarily he gets off on it. He probably does, but he has to do that. And Santa has been like kind of stamping that down. Also, I remember what I was going to say. Santa views Krampus more like a bit of like a partner in a way, and while their method, the way they're going about doing, because there was chaos in the lands for quite a bit, before they came around, and Santa knew that he could not get to the adults are too set in their ways, but he figures, okay, we can get to the children because they have not been completely corrupted by ways of adulthood. So we put a little fear in them, but understand like the hope and the good stuff that Santa brings kind of gives them a bit of balance. They understand, you can't be an a-hole for most of your life without consequences. And it kind of helps, bring in a new generation that will eventually teach the next generation and the next generation on to being like good people. Kind of scare straight myth, like a scare straight kind of course in a way. But because Santa has not been mindful of Krampus's needs, it's kind of like he was backed up, and one way or another, eventually he was going to explode. So one day, Santa noticed that like a village were missing a bunch of children. So he come across Krampus and he asked, like, where are the children? And Krampus like, I ate them. Like I told you, I have needs. So in the state of fury, Santa uh, did to Krampus what they've been doing to other creatures along their long life and journey by sealing away into this kind of like pocket dimension through like this mystical like object that Santa has in his person. So he seals away Krampus. But not soon after he did that, he come to find that the kids weren't dead, but they were just, stuffed away eating food. And Krampus tells them, I guess he's still a trickster too. So he tells the kids to stay quiet and they can have his little treats. So now, what's kind of like, I get it, he's a mischief person, but I guess none too bright. The fact that, what do you think Santa would do if you lied to him talking about you ate children? I don't know what was like the method to that madness, but after Santa sees that the kids were actually all right, he goes to the pocket dimension trying to find Krampus to bring him back, but he was nowhere to be found. As one of his like kind of greatest regrets. And if you're wondering like what, because Damien asked, like, shouldn't you be like delivering presents right now? And Santa points out earlier in the issue that he hasn't been needed for centuries at this point. Every once in a while he probably make a trip, but he has been needed to do so constantly every year. And he even recalls a gift that Santa asked him. I mean, like Damien asked Santa when he was 5 years old about like he wanted like a satellite so he can track his enemies. And, like that's definitely a Damien thing to ask for. Of course, Santa never got him that because A, he thought it was ridiculous, and B, he figured, given the life that Damien grew up in before he partnered with his father, is that he didn't really have like a normal childhood. And it goes to show that Santa just doesn't just deliver presents, any present that a person asks for, no matter how good they are, because some things are just too doggone ridiculous. So he ends up banishing away like Krampus, but now somehow Krampus is not only out, but he is somehow tormented by some voices in his head, telling him where to unseal certain creatures that's been locked away by Santa years ago. By the way, Bruce eventually started calling in. Oh, there's a funny moment where we haven't got to that yet, but there's one of my favorite moments that's gonna come up pretty soon, but I'll get to that soon. Bruce calls in some assistance from other leaguers. Miss Martian, Green Arrow, and Black Canary rounds up the rest of the vampiric creatures, and each start taking them down. Obviously with arrows, more specifically, but Black Canary uses her because they're bats. Technically, she uses her sonic scream to incapacitate a good chunk of them, and Miss Martian and Green Arrow is pretty much cleanup. So it was a cool moment here. And I was like, yeah, she is extremely effective against opponents that require sound to do certain things. But then, way over in Scotland, Krampus is releasing these harpies at the request of these voices in his head, promising him he will be back into the wildlands as he wish, but he has to do this, these tasks first, releasing these creatures. But then Superman shows up and just bless his heart. He is really sad and bothered by the fact that as long as they have been friends, Bruce has never told Clark that he personally knew Santa Claus. And Superman's like, why didn't you tell me you knew Santa? And as much as we all look up to Superman, Superman looks up to Santa Claus the same way we look up to Superman. He is like a huge fanboy of Santa Claus, and it kind of makes sense. The fact that somebody as good as Santa Claus, it would make sense for somebody like Superman to kind of like fanboy out. He was like a total Santa Claus fanboy. And you can't help but think about the Justice League animated series, that Christmas episode where his parents talk about like they had to wrap their presents in lead lining just to keep him from peeking, so he doesn't immediately know exactly what he got before it's time to open presents. Oh my god! And there's another moment in this story where, of course, Santa Claus knows his name, his various names, and where he lived, and he recalls one Christmas where, and it's a total Superman thing. Like, I totally buy the fact that Superman would do this as a kid, where he didn't ask Santa for anything for himself. He asked Santa for this particular coffee maker for his parents because that's what they want for Christmas. He didn't ask for anything for himself. He wanted to get his parents something. And I thought, like, yes, that is totally what a Superman would do. He is that good where he just doesn't think about. He rarely, I would say like never, but he rarely thinks about himself. He is that good of a person. It's like, no, for Christmas, I want my parents to have something. Like, I didn't bother or even take the moment to even consider getting or asking something for myself. He just doesn't. Sometimes that doesn't even register. It's just second nature to him. I thought that is such a charming thing. It's probably my favorite part in this story is just how Superman interacts with Santa Claus. It's so much fun. And of course, we don't get no retort from Batman explaining himself as to why at no point throughout their friendship that he ever bring up the fact that, by the way, I kind of know Santa Claus personally. That would have been nice. And especially as long as they've been friends, you would think that's something that Clark probably would have brought up. And Batman given because it's hard to find, a good present for somebody like Superman. So he'd probably be like the bestest of best friends forever if one Christmas Batman requests Santa Claus to come visit Clark to hang out for a little bit. That'd have been like the ultimate Christmas present. Come on, it's like hanging out with your personal hero for a little bit. That will make your day forever. But anyway, over in London, the Harpies are running amok. So Wonder Woman, Hawk Girl, and one of these more fairly recent Green Lanterns, this woman, I don't recall her name like that. I think it's Joe. There's too many of these Earthbound Green Lanterns, and I think, look, I understand there's a lot of people who've been complaining about too many Earthbound Green Lanterns, and I don't mind this girl because she came about during this Far Sector type of Green Lantern story. I never read it, but I just was not that interested. And now there's this other young little black girl that's part of the Green Lantern Corps, and it's like, oh my god, okay, I think after Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz, we got a twofer with that one. I think like it was really around that point where people was really kind of like getting annoyed with the many Earthbound Green Lanterns, and I at that point kind of agree. Where even though uh, well, primarily the only time I read like Simon Baz and Jessica Cruz Green Lantern stories was during the Rebirth era, but I haven't read anything else afterwards. I don't even know if they even made any stories with them after Rebirth. If they did, I wasn't that much interested. But they're cool characters, very interesting backstory, especially Jessica, who immediately became a fan favorite for a lot of people. But I think we should have held off on making any other new Green Lanterns, especially Earthbound ones, for a while. I think they really needed to take a break of making new Green Lanterns. Uh, anyway, they end up stopping, these harpies, thanks mostly to Diana, who used her lasso to communicate with the leader, Harpy Queen. And the Harpy Queen explains that for their freedom, they were told to just mess with the people here in London. And so while they're taking these harpies to a location that's good for them, but away from the populace, so they won't cause havoc. Batman and the others meet up with one of Santa's elves named Peppermint John. I think it's Peppermint John. Yeah, Peppermint John. It's pretty much like Santa's Alfred in a sense. And apparently that they also come from Norse mythology, and since they was kind of stranded, Santa, in exchange for offering them a home, they decide to help him build toys for quite some time for the children of the globe, with like a mutual understanding kind of thing. But they also became like a bit of a family. By the way, I didn't mention this earlier. Currently, right now, they're working on a part 2 or to the Silent Night, called Silent Night Returns, and they already put out the 3rd issue. Don't know how many issues that they are in total. I think it's also 4 or maybe 5. But I will review that one next Christmas, because it's been solid so far. Anyway, they traveled through this portal. By the way, they called contact like Blue Beetle along the way. Because Batman thinks his assistance is, in this adventure is much needed. So they went to another part of the world where, which is not too far from like the North Pole, where this Leviathan is springing up. And this is where Superman, hears from Santa about the whole coffee maker story and everything like that. And of course, Superman really want to impress Santa. It's like this, like I said, he's a total fanboy. He just want to impress Santa so bad, and just teaming up with his idol. Thought it's just an awesome Superman moment right now. But Superman wasn't watching his 6, and gets him and Blue Beetle gets eaten, but obviously it doesn't work. Santa, mentions, because I love the fact that Santa Claus knows, not only obviously he knows Superman has super hearing and X-ray vision, so he doesn't have to worry about yelling or whatever. He just knows Superman is right on the other side of the inside the creature in this particular spot. He also knows the fact that he's like, Superman, Jaime, like, I know you got the Scarab who can pick up what I'm saying to you and is speaking to you, and Superman, I know you already have super hearing, so pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. Lift the Leviathan up and just fly it, to where I tell you to do. So they take the Leviathan to someplace safe, so it can be put somewhere away from any potential dangers of the populace. But then, right at the doorway, this icy doorway that is sealing the bulk of these creatures, of course, Green Arrow and the Bat Family, Black Canary, they all showed up to help out to stop this Krampus. And Krampus isn't a slouch. He catches one of Green Arrow's arrows, and then he takes a beating. But not the one to overestimate. Superman, eventually flies out of the creature and tries to hold down Krampus, but it turns out Krampus is possessed by a few spirits, a couple of which then decide to possess Superman. Figure like, oh, he's even stronger, and they use him to break open the doorway for more creatures to come loose. And while they're coming loose, Krampus, still possessed by at least one spirit, takes Damien away to Krampus's lair, while the rest are having to deal with these Norse creatures. We got to see Damien in a cage, and noticing Krampus is pretty much like talking to himself, but he's speaking with the spirit that's in his mind, who wants to exact revenge on Santa Claus. And it turns out these creatures, along with the spirits inside Krampus's mind, because since Krampus had assisted Santa with capturing and containing their foes over the years, he knows his way out. Because once he was locked away, some of these creatures, or at least the spirits, at some point hitched a ride inside his body, and now they've been messing with his mind, causing this entire ordeal. As Santa states about the as he explains about the intricacies of this mystical prison, Superman, who he eventually got that possession, but he understands the way Santa describes it. This prison is the Phantom Zone, because different civilizations somehow managed to tap into what would be known as the Phantom Zone, but they would call it something else depending on the culture. But they access somehow the same gateway to store away evildoers or creatures that's too dangerous to be left on their peaceful homes or whatever. So that's where they're coming from, by and large. But anyway, Batman tells Jaime Reyes to take down Superman because he knows that the Scarab will automatically adjust to whatever foe that it's fighting to be able to figure out his weaknesses and exploit it to take down the foe. So he uses the pincers in the armor to turn into kryptonite to neutralize and electrocute Superman. And of course, he's down, but he needs to. Batman wants Jaime to restart his heart with some electricity, but the Scarab is temporarily tapped out, turning part of the suit into kryptonite. Takes a lot of power, so now it's essentially trying to recharge. So he can't quickly resuscitate Superman at the moment, but it's all moot because he eventually just come to anyway. But before that, some abominable snowman-looking creature starts causing a avalanche, which covers pretty much everybody. But luckily, Diana and Hawkgirl and Joe show up to pull him out of the snow, and Superman's all right. And that's where he starts, Santa starts talking about the whole Phantom Zone situation, or what he calls it something else, but essentially it's the Phantom Zone. Damian, back at Krampus's lair, realizes that Krampus is still operating on the old ways, and considering how he used to deal with bad children, Damian starts pretending to cry and be super sorry, like, I want my daddy, I'm sorry, I'll never be bad again. And Krampus, he's get fooled by this because, like, oh, the kid's sorry, I can't hurt him, the kid's sorry, I have to give him back. But then, of course, that doesn't last long when he picks up the fact that the kid's like playing tricks. But it's too late. Eventually, the others end up showing up. We see here that Diana and the others are rescuing the team. And this is where the conversation brings up about the whole Phantom Zone situation. And I also chose this slide because I love this moment here. Santa realizes that the creatures, that escaped them, is going to find his workshop to destroy it. But he's not too concerned about that because he wants to find that child. He wants to find Damian because he feels like he owes it to Bruce, because he, even though he personally met Bruce while he was on his pilgrimage to train, he knew, obviously, Bruce long before that, know of him at least, and know of his story that he lost his parents, and like he knows that Bruce had like a big wish, at least quite a few times up to a certain point, that he wanted Santa to give his parents back, and Santa, understanding how deeply saddened he feels about what happened to Bruce's parents, and as much as he really wants to, this is something that is not in his power to give. And the fact that he feels like he, in some level, failing this one kid that probably needed it the most, that needed a wish granted the most, but he could not do anything about. So I guess that you can take that and apply it to when he first came face to face with Bruce on his training missions. The fact that, okay, I can't bring your parents back, but I can at least teach you some skills that'll be beneficial to you in your quest for doing good, kind of thing. That's how I interpret it. He couldn't do one thing, but he figures that he can still do this. But that isn't enough. He has a son now, and he's going to do everything in his power to make sure he doesn't lose a kid. It's one thing to lose his parents. He's not going to allow Bruce to lose his own kid. So, damn the workshop. So, Bruce is unable to track Damien because obviously he's in the lair of Krampus. But Santa Claus, and this is a cool thing, Santa Claus goes to nearby pine trees, and it goes, and he connects with it because the reason, at least in regards to the story, the reason why people put pine trees in their homes is so that way it's easier for Santa to get in tune with it, so he can hear what the kids want for Christmas. So you're always spying, in a sense. That's how he knows when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, kind of thing. So since Krampus's lair has a Christmas tree inside, he uses that to commune with it. Here's Damien's wails, and Bruce is like, oh, he's tricking Krampus. He's giving us a signal. So now they know where to pinpoint where Damien is. So that's where they follow through. He actually uses a portal inside a Christmas tree, or at least a pine tree, and the team ends up going through and pretty much dogpile Krampus. And thanks to Damien, who essentially does some type of exercise of the ghost from Krampus's body, which now that they're out of the Phantom Zone, they got nowhere to go, so they kind of dissipate, which kind of easily wraps up the story in a way. I wouldn't say it's anticlimactic, but I don't know. I kind of expected a little bit more. There's probably one knock I have against this story, but it's not like a big deal anyway. And of course, Superman, Diana, and the Hawker on the Green Lantern managed to round up all the other creatures, but the Green Lantern knows there's certain planets where these creatures can live on in peace without being a danger to anybody, which Santa Claus is more than thrilled because, I don't want to imprison them. That was my first mistake. They didn't deserve that. So, they deserve to be free to roam in a peaceful location. So that's what happens to them. Well, after the whole ordeal is done, Damien asked Santa, it's like, why bother? Like, clearly nobody needed you for a long time, and why you even still do any of this? And I love this moment where Batman and Superman explains to Damien in their own different perspective as to why Santa Claus does what he does, and in their own way they understand, because it's kind of the reason why they do what they do. And I really love this. Kind of wish we got a little bit with Diana, and given the fact that she's more so Greek, but even still, like, it would be nice to have Diana have her own perspective. But whatever. We get Batman says, like, because he's driven, he can never stop seeing the child who needed the gift. Is Batman, that's how he understands Santa's motive, because the same way how he is driven to prevent what happened to him from happening to anybody else. He understands from that point of view of Santa. And Superman explains he does it for himself. He does it for him because nothing feels better than giving, which is something like Superman uniquely understands because he does what he does because he enjoys like bringing hope to people. He does it because he loves the fact that he can bring smiles to people's faces. He can, bring light to the world, like, being a shining beacon to people and something to inspire. And like, he loves just to give, even despite for himself, he's a giver. I love that moment. And Santa then asks Damien, like, hey, do you want to, because earlier Santa remarks how Damien never had like a real childhood. So you want to give him something like that, to give him, some touch with understanding of a kid experience. Something that I imagine rarely kids would ever experience, riding in Santa's sleigh and delivering presents. And he asked Damien, would you like to help me deliver presents to all the good little boys and girls in the world? And of course, Damien is ecstatic. And he, asks Dad, and, Bruce is like, go have fun, son. I was like, yeah, go have fun. And then I love this moment where Santa, because, with all the, most of the leaguers there, and a few more pop up like Flash and Aquaman and a couple others, since they're near the North Pole, he tells them to go inside. There's a whole banquet for you guys. Enjoy your time as long as you feel like you need to. Time is by the time you walk out, only a couple of minutes would have gone by. While you're in there for seemingly like a few hours, it's going to be only like a few minutes outside of it. You have, done well. You made me proud because you did what you always sought out as little boys and girls, is to bring joy to the world and help and do good. You made me so proud. For once, I want to, give us this unique reward that you greatly deserve because you give so much of yourselves almost every day. You deserve a little reprieve. Like, just a few hours of just no worries about the world. Just enjoy ourselves. Take a breather. Have fun. That's my gift to you. And that's where the movie ends, with them just, Zatanna's fine and everything like that, by the way. They just have this massive banquet where they just drink eggnog and alcohol, having this big feast, trimming the tree. The Justice League are celebrating Christmas, just a few hours piece of not having to worry about the world. And even Batman is enjoying himself. I love this story. This is an amazing story. Just, the team just enjoying themselves. And I love this. They deserve it. It's like, you'd be hard pressed to say that they don't. Just that they're all hanging out. They're friends. I dare say they're, consider themselves family. And you're just, taking a moment and just enjoying each other's company. And that's like a perfect way to end this story. And of course, like, Santa and, Krampus are like, friends again. And, because Santa realizes it wasn't Krampus' fault and he still feels bad for banishing Krampus in the first place. So their friendship is renewed. All ends well with that. But that was Batman Santa Silent Night. Man, great story. I really enjoyed this. Fun to revisit it. It's only been a year, but in 2025 next December, I will be obviously have to cover Silent Night Returns. But let me know what you guys think. Have y'all read Silent Night? If you haven't, definitely recommend this, especially if you want to. You have little children and you want to read them a nice little Christmas comic book or something like that. Highly recommend Silent Night. Very fun, very festive. But yeah, really enjoyable. So I will see you guys tomorrow night as I wrap up my Loki gameplay on Marvel Rivals. So look out for that. Sunday night, I'll be doing my spoiler review of Sonic 3. But yeah. And then, of course, next week before Christmas, I will be wrapping up the holiday review month with 2 more movie reviews. But yeah. I think I'll do it on the 23rd. Because the 24th, I really want to just spend like maybe like a few hours just grinding on Marvel Rivals.
Phrasing?
Anyway, happy holidays, everybody. Hope you have a happy new year. And definitely leave a comment below. Let me know if you enjoy this story. And I will see you all later. Peace.